Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the mid-market monitor, midday market monitor. Jeez, I'm slowly getting it. All right. Today, we are going to be listening to not only Block's Investor Day, Trump's speech, a little bit of Elon and Jensen talking as well, but Trump is actually walking out on stage right now. I heard that the initial introduction is going to not be in English. So we'll wait after that to listen to what Trump has to say about their investment with Saudi Arabia, about that $1 trillion deal that they are going to be announcing, see the market's reaction to that as well. We are also going to be talking about Nvidia's expectations for earnings, what they expect, what the market expects. Should be a lot of fun. I'm going to keep this show relatively short today, shorter than usual. That's because we are going to be transitioning to Nvidia's earnings at 3:45 p.m. 3:45, we end up starting to see some of the earnings, not Nvidia's right at 4, but we'll see Palo Alto and some of these other names that end up coming out. And then Jensen should be showing us some numbers around 4:20. And then around 5 o'clock, we'll have the actual earnings call. Huh? What do we think about that? Pretty packed day, lots of fun. Okay, and Trump is not live yet, but that being said, let's jump into the news. I am repping the jacket, ladies and gentlemen. It's NVIDIA Day. We got to keep the hopes high. Okay, speaking of which, let's jump into some market numbers to start. Nvidia up 1.6%. This is sort of passing on some of the ultra bullishness going into the early bit of the day on some expectations that Nvidia is going to once again beat and raise. I saw some commentary about people saying that that might not be the case this quarter round. Good luck with that. Trump is actually talking. Let's see what he has to say. This is live. Let's go ahead and transition really quickly, and then we'll get back to the market numbers. You guys can't hear this? What? How does that make sense?
Gentlemen, Crown Prince Mohammed of Saudi
Can you hear
Arabia
it?
for his bold leadership and deep commitment to the ties between our two countries. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me know now.
Great gentlemen. Yesterday, we had a phenomenal visit at the White House celebrating the 80-year bond between the United States and Saudi Arabia. We ended with an unbelievable show last night in a room that was far too small, but the next time you're here, you'll have a much bigger room. It's gonna be much bigger. I made more enemies last night by we had 119 people. That was a record for the room. So they've wanted for 150 years. They've been clamoring for a ballroom at the White House, and we're giving them one. We're giving them 1+, and it'll be something. But you'll be here. You'll be among the first, if not the first, if you'd like. We'll work it out. But you had a lot of people that wanted to be there. They really would have witnessed something that was really incredible. The entertainment last night was incredible, including our great opera singer, but including the military. The talent and the military musically is also incredible. So it was great to be with you last night. I think it was something to behold. We officially designated the kingdom yesterday as the major non-NATO ally. That's a big deal. That's actually a very big deal. It's a great honor. That happens seldom, very seldom, if at all. So I just want to congratulate you on that. That's a sign of trust. We signed a historic strategic defense agreement yesterday also, and that's something that is likewise very rare, and it's very honored company that you're in. And we're going to be selling Saudi Arabia some of the greatest military equipment ever built. We build the best military equipment in the world by far. That's why we do the most business, including nearly 300 American-made tanks, is what you're buying, among many other things. The airplanes, and we're working on getting that approved very quickly. It's already approved, but don't worry. We have to go through a process. The process will take, Elon knows, the process will take about, would you say 24 hours? I think so. You're in good shape, very good shape. The partnership between our two nations is among the most consequential in the entire world, and together the Crown Prince and I are making an alliance stronger and more powerful than it's ever been before. We've had good relationships and frankly not good. You didn't have a good relationship with Barack Hussein Obama. You didn't have a good relationship with sleepy Joe Biden. But you had a great relationship with me, and now it's as good as it was, and probably even better if you think about it, because we took the dark cloud away from your country. It was called Iran and its nuclear capability, and we obliterated that very quickly and strongly and powerfully. But that was a real cloud over the whole Middle East, and now they want to make a deal. They want to make a deal. They want to see if they can work out a deal with us, and we'll be doing that probably. But that was a terrible cloud that you had to live with for a long time. 22 years they were thinking about doing that, the B-2s. That was even before the B-2s. Those B-2s, what machines they were, they flew in, they were undetectable, and they dropped their payload, and every single bomb hit its exact mark, which was a shaft going deep into the mountain. And every single one of them hit, and it was total obliteration. And then I was criticized by some of the fake news for saying the word obliteration was too strong, perhaps. They had no idea. Nobody saw it. 3 days later, when the Atomic Energy Commission went, they said it was total obliteration, beyond obliteration, they said. But they want to make a deal. We'll see what happens. This week, our countries also signed groundbreaking agreements on civil nuclear energy, critical minerals, and artificial intelligence. And I want to congratulate a lot of the great American leaders, business leaders that are in the room. And you'll do a great job for Saudi Arabia and for a lot of other people in the room that are buying your product, taking your product, and using your product. All of that is in addition to the $600 billion investment in the United States that Saudi Arabia announced during my unforgettable visit there last spring. Well, I said, could you try and get that up to $1 trillion? And yesterday, the Crown Prince announced that the number that they'll be investing in the United States is $1 trillion. So that's really an honor. And we just took a picture backstage with some of the great business leaders and some of the great people, friends of mine from your country, and beautiful picture. And while we were taking the picture, I said, could you make it 1.5 trillion? So he's got something to think about. I don't know. We'll get something. I think we'll get something, Scott, right? But many of you in the room are playing a key role in making these projects happen. And we're told that $270 billion in agreements and sales are being signed between dozens of companies. And that's just happening today, $270 billion. That's big stuff. So on behalf of the thousands of American workers who I care about most, I want to thank you for bringing all those jobs and all those great opportunities to America and bringing great wealth to America. We've become a very wealthy country. We have a couple of little things. We're waiting for a decision. We hope that's going to be good, but if it's not, we always find ways, we find ways, but we've done things that nobody thought were possible. And we're taking in trillions and trillions of dollars. Tariffs have been, frankly, the best thing that's ever happened to our country. They've always been used against us, and we never had people that were smart enough to use them in the opposite direction. But now you do. And we have taken in trillions of dollars, and it's been absolutely amazing. We're going to be doing a dividend to the people, low and middle income, moderate income people, of at least $2,000. In addition to that, we'll be paying down debt very substantially. It's the kind of money we're taking in. And really, countries that took advantage of us are no longer taking advantage of us. Friends, some of our friends treated us far worse than our enemies on trade anyway. And we've got that all straightened out. And everybody's happy. They respect us again. You know, it's like one of those things. I think they like us better, and they actually respect us, and it works out much better for us too. But I especially want to thank our numerous Saudi friends here today, including the ambassador to the United States, a friend of mine, Princess Rima. Thank you very much. Great job. Great representative you have. You sent a good representative. And many distinguished ministers and members of the cabinet, governor of the Public Investment Fund. Where's Yasser? Yasser's here someplace. Sometimes I see him dressed both ways. I don't know. It's cooler that way. I'd dress that way if I could. Yasser's terrific. He's a terrific man, actually. So thank you very much, Yasser. And Secretary Scott Bessent, who's been fantastic. Where's Scott? We're thinking about him for the Fed, but he wants no part of it. He likes being Secretary of the Treasury. I think we'll leave him. So let's cross your name off, right? Officially, right? Remember, you said that. I love the Fed job. To me, it's the easiest job in the world. You play golf for 28, 29 days, then you go and make a little speech, tell everybody, in the case of the current guy, the wrong information because he has no clue. But if you have good instincts, you know, it's all based on instincts. I see they want to hire 3,000 economists, 3,000, to report to the Fed chairman. What are they going to do? Take all this information? 3,000 economists. That's why they're spending $4 billion on renovating a building that should have cost $25 million to do. They should have spent $25 million. They're building a basement into the Potomac River. I could have told them that's very tough to do and it doesn't work and it's very expensive. But they're up to $4 billion headed by this clown. But we have 3,000. Think of it. They want to hire 3,000 economists. So they took a poll and they interviewed 71 people. And of the 71 people, 2 people got it right. 2 people. One was a great economist whose name I won't tell you because I don't like him personally, but he is good. And the other one that got it the most right was a man named President Donald J. Trump. Do you believe it? Everyone else was wrong. And I didn't have an economist. Well, I had Scott. But we got it right, didn't we? Huh? We got everything right. Doug Burgum, where's Doug? Will you please drill a little bit faster? Between him and I'll tell you, you and Chris. Chris was great on television. And he's setting records. They're setting records. But I'll never be satisfied. Drill, you know, we got elected. Drill we must, I called it. Drill, baby, drill. Con Edison, a great utility from New York many years ago, they used to have it said, drill we must and dig we must. So when they were digging in a road, they'd have a sign, dig we must. Well, now we're putting those utilities to shame because I'm allowing all of those AI plants that are being built to build their own electric generating force, and they're building them like nobody's ever seen, and they're coming up with ideas and new contraptions like nobody's ever seen. And this way they can't blame me for not producing electric. I said, you produce it yourself. And actually they didn't believe I was saying that because nobody ever thought of a thing like that. They're building a massive plant. They were going to hook it up to a 200-year-old grid. And you know that wasn't going to work because there's no way of doing that. No way we could have done that. And I had the idea. This was my idea, approved by a couple of people. I said, why wouldn't that happen? They're building a plant for $50 billion. You know, if you build a shopping center for $50 million, it's okay. It's not a bad shopping center. 500 million, you're talking about top of the line. 50 billion. So when it was first explained, they're spending 50 billion. I said, no, you mean 50 million. No, sir, we mean 50 billion. And then I saw some of them that were the size of Manhattan. I said, they did mean 50 billion. And I said, well, what you're going to do is with that, how would you like to build your own electric generating plant? And they looked at me like I was crazy because something like that, they really didn't understand it. The smart guys, they didn't understand it. They said to me at the next meeting, sir, the biggest problem we have will be electricity. I said, you don't understand. I told you last week, you're going to build your own. I'm giving you approval to build your own plant, and you will be approved within a period of 2 to 3 weeks. It used to take 20 years prior to termination. In other words, you would wait 20 years and you wouldn't make it. You'd be voted down 5 to 4. I said, we're getting you approved in a 2-week, 3-week period. In fact, Lee Zeldin, one of the superstars of this administration, I said, Lee, if it's oil and gas, get them approved in 2 weeks. If it's nuclear, add another week. Because some are going nuclear and they're doing, be careful. They better be careful, but they are going to be careful. They're the greatest people in the world. So now they come back and they actually believed it. And now they're being approved rapidly. And we have things being built, the likes of which nobody's ever seen. We're leading China by a lot in AI. And we're also bringing auto plants in from Canada and from Mexico. They took them and they're all coming back. We won the election by a landslide on November 5th. That helped. But they're all coming back, and they're coming back from Germany and Japan. Toyota just announced, as you know, $10 billion worth of new plants. They just announced it last week. I went to various countries, and Japan was one of them. And Toyota's coming in with a $10 billion investment in 4 or 5 plants. Now, we're going to be more advanced than we were. So we led the car industry like 100% 50 years ago. We led the chip industry 30, 40 years ago. We had 100%. Then people came in and started taking it. I don't blame them, Taiwan, et cetera. They took 100% because we had no president that protected our industry. If we would have said, it's wonderful that you're going to Taiwan, we think it's great, but when you sell your product back into this country, there will be a 250% tariff. Nobody would have left. Nobody would have left. And Intel would have been a giant. Intel would have been, where's Jensen? Intel would have blown, well, he now owns a big chunk of Intel. He's got it figured all different ways. Where are you, Jensen? Stand up. You have done such a good job. And you had a good 2 days, I understand, right? A good 2 days. How's Blackwell doing, okay? Any recent competitors? Anybody going to blow Blackwell away in the next week? They say 10 years. I don't know, maybe 2 years, 3 years. But you will not be stopping there. You'll be going further fast, right? Amazing job you've done. I want to thank Howard Lutnick and Christy Noem for being here. Christy, Howard, good job. Really good job. My daughter Tiffany's here with her great husband, Michael. Thank you very much, Tiffany. Thank you, honey. She was a great student. She went to Georgetown. She was a great, great student, and she finished really right at the top, and we were proud of you. And she was so proud, and her graduation got canceled because of COVID. But I say if her name were something else, they probably wouldn't have canceled it. They didn't like that she did so well in school. They weren't happy about it. I say they canceled your graduation because you were a great student and they didn't want, but other than that, I have no problems. You see, I don't take anything personally. Anyway, great job. And of course, hundreds of the top minds in technology, finance, and private enterprise from both Saudi Arabia and the United States. But my message to all of the leaders and investors with us today, and they are the best in the world, is very simple. Under the Trump administration, America is back and America is open for business. And America is actually stronger than it's ever been before, ever. We rebuilt the military in my first term. Foolishly, we gave a little bit to Afghanistan, but not very much compared to what we built. but now we're building it at levels that we've never done before. And in addition to that, we're sending a lot out to our allies, and we're making it possible for them to get it. I want those companies to build more plants, to build it faster. We want them to build it faster. The biggest problem we have is we have a backlog because it's so good. Every country wants our missiles, our jets. They want everything we have, and we got to go faster. We just have a new plane, the F-47. It won a very strong competition. It's the newest, and that was won by Boeing. Boeing is doing, by the way, Boeing is doing an amazing job of coming back. Kelly is doing a great job. They're really moving, and it's really great to see. But they won the competition for the jet fighter, and they say it reaches levels that has never been reached, both in terms of stealth and speed and everything else that they go by. So they're just completing their factory, and they've already started work on the F-47. How did that number get chosen? I don't know, but I didn't pick it. I did not pick it. It was said, "Sir, we'd like to present you with the F-47." I said, "That's an unusual number. How did you pick that number?" After 4 years of economic nightmares under the previous regime, Sleepy Joe Biden, he's a sleepy guy, wasn't he? Think he would have been here today? I don't think so. Americans have rejected the failed, and they were really failed, far left models that you were looking at of high taxes and massive spending, soaring costs, crushing regulations, and trillions of dollars in green new scams. Everything was a new scam, green, green, green. Look, I'm all for the environmental, everything. I'm all for climate change. You know, they have new word, climate change. It used to be global warming. It's global warming. Well, that didn't work because it started coming down. They did the global cooling thing. Then they just said, we can't keep up with this. It's too much. So we'll go, perfect words, climate change. They're covered. If it rains, if it snows, if it's warm, it's climate change is destroying the world. Remember? The world was supposed to have been gone 2 years ago. They gave us 12 years, Howard, to live, right? 12 years. But that was 14 years ago. The world was going to burn up, but it got actually much cooler. They know these people. It's a little conspiracy out there. We have to investigate them immediately. They probably are being investigated. Their policies punished success, rewarded failure, and produced disaster, including the worst inflation in our country's history. We had the worst inflation in history, and now we have a beautiful normal inflation. It's going to come down over the next few months a little bit more, but we have a nice normal inflation. We had the highest inflation in the history of our country. 9 months ago, our country was dead, but now America is the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country. I don't care what country you're with. America is the hottest country considered, and we did this in a period of 9 months. We're a little longer than that, but it took me about 2 weeks to get started. We're rewarding those who build and create, invent, and invest in the USA. And you know, our tax, our big, I call it the great big beautiful bill. It's the biggest bill ever passed in the history of Congress. And Scott and I and all of us, we sat down and we said, let's do it, along with the speaker and John Thune and everybody, said, let's do it all in one bill. And a lot of people were they said, you'll never get it approved. And we didn't have a huge majority. We had a huge presidential win. We won everything. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything. But the one thing, we won one, it's called districts. The country has districts. And we won in terms of districts 2,750 to 550. And that's why when you see the map of the election, it's the whole country, it's all red. And it's pretty amazing. 2 little blue streaks on the right and on the left. And they're very little and getting smaller. But it's been pretty amazing. But in 4 long years, Joe Biden secured less than $1 trillion. In 9 short months, I've secured $18 trillion to rebuild our factories, create hundreds of thousands of jobs, and bring back those beautiful words, made in America. So think of that. He did less than $1 trillion in 4 years. And in 9 months, we've done more than $18 trillion. Okay. That's called success. And we think that by the end of the first year, it'll be over $20 trillion. So, and thank you very much. You helped with that little boost you gave us, that little increase. We appreciate it so much. We appreciate you. So it's just one example. Under the deals being signed this week, workers at GE Aerospace, I think he's here. Where is he? Stand up. What a job you've done with your new engines. And where are you? You're there. It's not a very good location for you. I thought you have been amazing. Great new engine that's supposed to be more efficient, more powerful, and less costly. That's not a bad combination. But GE Aerospace will soon be delivering dozens of new airplane engines for 787 Dreamliners in Saudi Arabia's commercial fleet. Big order. It was a big order just secured. Every new job and every new factory created by these announcements builds up our middle class and it really strengthens the industrial backbone of America. And, I view it differently. I used to view it as it's great, great, great. The stock goes up. I view it, everything is jobs now because I don't care. I care about jobs. And we have more jobs. It was just announced. We have more jobs right now than we've ever had in the history of our country. Those are big numbers. It's like crazy. It's just a great stat. More jobs today than we've ever had in the history of our country. And we're going to be producing a lot more are coming. In my first term, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world, and now we're do it again. But this is really bigger and better and stronger. The first term, we had what was considered the best economy that any president has ever had. That's nice. And we got hit with COVID, remember? And we did a great job with COVID, but that was a horrible thing for the whole world. The whole world suffered. Your country suffered. Everybody suffered. And despite that, we had the greatest economy. And before that, forget it. We blew it off the charts. I'll never forget, I met with pollsters the day before I got the news about COVID, but I met with two pollsters because we were starting to think about the next election. They said, sir, if George Washington and Abraham Lincoln came back from the dead and they aligned and they went for the president, vice president as a combination, you'd be beating them by 25 points. And then the next day I was told that something strange.
Hey, quick update here, just because the market is being pretty reactionary right now. Let's do a quick update on the market while he is not talking about the current deals. QQQ's up 0.2%. We ended up seeing quite the sink around noon, and then over the last 20 or so minutes sitting in this range, maybe starting to bounce up again, but whenever Trump actually took stage, it did start to sink. I don't think it's directly correlated, but let's take a look at Ethereum really quickly. Also, since noon, taking a little bit of a drop, nearly breaking below 2,900. I mean, we're just not going to catch a break right now. BMNR at 2948, hitting brand new lows, finding them as we speak. Take a look here. This is absolutely incredible. This is true pain here. Okay, going from 55 and going all the way down to 29 is no joke. That's extremely hard to suffer through. Bitcoin as well, also breaking below 90,000, 89,400. It's extremely painful. We're feeling the early stages of a potential winter here, but BMNR just recently started working with Tom DeMark for DeMark Analytics to potentially see if they can predict whenever Ethereum is going to bottom to help with their purchases and accumulation of Ethereum going forward. So, little update on the BMNR side, but we'll see if that persists. Okay. Now, I do want to keep up with the Trump conversation if he does start talking about the deals, but along the stuff around whether or not, how good of a president he is versus Biden or something like this, like, bro, you've already won. Like, I don't care that much. But I want to see what those deals are like whenever he's talking about the additional $270 billion worth of agreements that are being signed over the next couple of days. That is very exciting for markets, and I do want to keep up with that. Okay, let's go on to our next story, because we do have a couple things that I want to highlight on before we talk about... Actually, no, let's go right into NVIDIA. I'm wearing the leather jacket. I can't keep this on in this hot room forever. Let's talk some NVIDIA and if it's potentially going to beat on expectations. First, let's see what the expectations are tomorrow from one of the analysts from Mizuho that is covering this name. Okay. Sorry, just getting this video set up.
Let's talk to Ben Wrights, the head of tech research at Melius. Buy rating 300
You guys got
on
volume?
NVIDIA. Before we get to it, I did want to just start with Alphabet. You covered that as well.
Yep.
Move up has been extraordinary in the stock price just in the last 3 days, let alone the last month. Gemini 3, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it at all, but give me your take and whether or not this move up is justified on hopes for that latest version.
Well, I was impressed by it. I think it's a big leap from the prior models, and it showed a bigger than expected leap in some of the performance benchmarks. And when they put out the users for 650 million users of the Gemini app, I think that was better than expected as well. And you know, OpenAI is at around 800, the last disclosure. It's probably higher than that nicely now. But as they close that gap, that's good for the stock. That's going to pop the stock. But I did want to also mention that Broadcom's a big winner because they make the TPUs, and clearly the differentiation of having your own silicon and investing in your own infrastructure is helping Google. And it's been an amazing run. I think, you know, search has obviously still some problems potentially. I know the numbers have been okay, but they're looking like they're a Gemini and cloud company that happens to sell search. And that was the part we wish we were more bullish on.
Yeah, well, I've made the point many times. A year ago, many of us and many in the investment community were sort of wondering, God, is there a monopoly in search really under siege? And here we are. And of course, I've also talked about those TPUs because it gives them an advantage on a cost per token per dollar per watt basis versus the others. Which gets you back to NVIDIA, by the way.
Well, we'll get to NVIDIA, but look, we're recommending Broadcom as well. But really bullish on that.
I remember when you did write, no kid Gemini's their homework, and you raised the prospect, you know, if OpenAI starts an advertising arm, that could really get spicy.
I think that's still ahead of us, but what's happened is Google has done a really good job in cloud and even YouTube, Waymo, and people are realizing it was the cheapest of the Mag 7s. Potentially now, you know, in this euphoria, it might be time for some other names like Microsoft to finally start to perform again. It had a good first half, but a lot of times these things go in waves. I mean, the wave in Alphabet was very violently to the upside in the third quarter into this quarter. So kudos to them. And I still think search is a business that needs to transform, but clearly they're doing a lot of other things.
So, by the way, while he's still on this Google part, we called all of it. Okay. We said that they would have the lowest cost to serve. They have the full integration of cloud. They have all of the data, proprietary data through YouTube and these sort of things. It was clear as day, in my opinion, that Gemini was going to be one of the biggest winners. If you think about it, from Google Bard, which was the original very crappy LLM, I don't even know if you could call it a large language model, all the way to Gemini 3, that was 21 months. 21 months. I know it feels very long, but that's less than 2 years to where we are today. And yet people, I'm leaning forward, ladies and gentlemen, are getting bearish on artificial intelligence because they can't predict out what potentially the next 2 to 3 years, 5 or even 10 years is going to look like. Now, I'm aware that some of the major breakthroughs that we've seen countless times over and over and over, there will be a slowing and maturing of this industry, right? That doesn't mean that the growth slows down. Even in the internet era and how browsers have gone through and search, like there's still improvements to those models and those algorithms constantly 20 years later. So artificial intelligence is absolutely here to stay, and it deserves a premium as long as it can continue to hold up this growth rate. We're about to see tonight whether or not Jensen is proving that so, but I think we are going to see a nice beat and raise.
And as far as NVIDIA earnings tonight, Is the key question around this stock now the sustainability of the boom, the spending, and what long-term projections look like?
Well, the key theme tonight, and I'm surprised nobody's talking about it, is reacceleration. Actually, their data center business took a little bit of a dip on the growth rate and is set to reaccelerate, potentially as high as 60% plus. And I think people aren't talking about that enough because that should continue into the fourth quarter with hyperscaler orders and sovereign orders. So I think business is pretty robust there, and it could reaccelerate on the data center revenue growth. That's what we want to see. Investors generally pay for that. Stock's taken a beating a little bit from the high, so it feels like a lot of bad news might be in this thing. And
quick pause once again. We just need to go back to the markets. Hold on. We will return back to that video, but markets are selling off quite deeply. I don't know if Trump is having something to do with this. Doesn't look like it. But the Qs are selling off. The SPY is selling off. We're seeing Ethereum about to break below, and did actually break below. We hit 2,800s. That is not going to be good for the crypto names, and Robinhood's going to be in that. Robinhood hates these sort of bleed offs. So they're down on this sell-off, 113.70. Let's also see another couple of our favorite names here. SoFi, 25.63. Open Door at 660. Figure actually down 7%. Let's see what else. Nvidia still up on the day, but is selling off on the broader market pressures here. Tesla below 400. Tesla's below 400. Block actually has their earnings date today. They're showing off some new things on Square, on Cash App, on Tidal, on all the different businesses that Jack Dorsey's playing around with these days. So that company's still down on what should be an updated multi-year outlook and repurchase agreement for new stocks. Those are two things that we do know is coming. Still large sell-offs. These newer energy names, Oklo, Bloom Energy, Centrus Energy, all still seeing good growth today, up 2 to 3%. That's quite interesting. The neoclouds like Nebius, for example, although seeing some pretty harsh candles over the last little bit, still up 2%. Let's check IREN as well. And CoreWeave also down 2.6. IREN was down 4.7%. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, let's get back to that video on Nvidia and what to expect, but I'll keep updating you guys as we see these big candles come in for the broader market. Let's see. Let's real quick update. Maybe some flattening out here in the last couple minutes. Let's go back.
I think people are going to need Jensen to really explain this circular deal mentality, because I don't think it's stopping anytime soon. So he's going to have to, he's tons of cash coming.
And
so
he's using a lot of it to invest in companies that then turn around and buy his product.
Yes, sorry. This was the reason for the big sell-off. Yeah, you are right. It was the Fed data was rescheduled to December 16th. That was the reason. Sorry, I saw the comment and then just completely it went in one ear and out the other. That is why. You're completely right.
And I thought,
but when you say explain it, what do you mean?
Well, I think that people just need to be. This isn't something you can just like say we're going to invest in our ecosystem, and then people are like, "Oh, cool, I get it." Like, no, there's this fear of circular deals, so we need to have him explain very thoroughly. Like, look, we're going to over the next 10 quarters, we think they generate $600 billion in cash. They can only buy back so much stock, so that means hundreds of billions can go into this ecosystem. So he's a steward of this cash. So you can't just say we're going to invest in the ecosystem. Like, he needs to say, hey, look, we're going to, what's his methodology, maybe a little bit more, how he thinks these things will return, how he's seeing usage of AI so that he knows it's a good investment. And I just think that this isn't the kind of thing you gloss over.
Do you think he is done trying to influence China hawks?
I think I'm done writing about it.
Yeah.
I've spent enough ink on that where it wasn't worth it. I think that the the China situation is unfortunate. I just feel like we got to move on. I think the issue right now is, can the orders be made up for by Saudi? Like, he was just here. And
The answer is no. I'm sorry to be the bear here, but Saudi's going to, be a beneficiary, or it's going to be additive to Nvidia's numbers, but no, it is not anywhere near the size of the orders that we were seeing from China. That's just the facts.
those deals need to come through to fill the void of what the buy side had in their hopeful models.
Well, Jensen was at the dinner at the White House last night. Maybe that's
Hey,
a good sign.
He's doing a good job there.
Elon and
He's
all
doing a
of
good
them.
job with Trump, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I look forward to it. I hope he does talk more about the circularity side of things. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
I'm excited. Big
yeah.
night.
Big night. Always appreciate your coming on before. Thanks.
I mean, you got to love it. His price target right now, Ben's, is at $300 per share. And I think that's honestly what we're seeing across Wall Street right now, is that the market has a completely different belief. Oh, okay, wait. Something's happening right now. Wait 1 second. We're seeing a spike up, complete change in the markets. We ended up erasing all of those losses that we ended up seeing just a second ago. Okay, let's see. Is it the Trump speech? Let me see. I will get an update for you guys on that right now. But yeah, no October jobs report will be released, and they are rescheduling once again for December 16th. Yikes. Okay. That said, we are seeing some buying and a lot of stocks turning around right now. Nvidia now up 1.6%. Bloom Energy. It's funny, they didn't even really fall on that news, but they are recovering on it. That's for sure. Okay. Cool. Now, let's get back to some of the regularly scheduled programming. Did you guys know that Kraken ended up filing for IPO? Kraken had announced that they are putting out their Form S1 to the SEC. Hopefully, we'll get that soon, and people will be able to get to see their business. I thought it was, choice timing on their part. We're going into a crypto winter, and now these crypto companies are looking to IPO. Probably not the best, multiple that you're going to get on your business in this type of environment. Ethereum down to 2,900. I don't know about all that, but yeah, like why didn't you either wait or do it a little bit earlier? Maybe they really need the money and they were hoping that the market was going to be much higher by this point. Yeah, Circle's getting slaughtered, which honestly, I'm not looking to hold Circle. I don't really know what their moat is or what the advantage is of Circle. I never understood the point of them running up in the first place. I thought that this was just pure mania. Like, it's a treasury company, and many different companies can make and supply stable coins. So, like, we're acting like they're the first and only bank ever in time. But yeah. Can we do an "Are you bag holding BM&R" poll? It would be no one's up on BM&R. Right? I mean, that's not true. There could be a lot of very, very early investors, but that's not the high percentage. Let's go back to Trump really quick and see what they're talking about, if they're talking about some of these deals. How is it always muted? What am I doing wrong, bro? What am I doing here? When did I start
Interest
streaming?
payment. I think that's going to be an unbelievable
Oh,
boom in
man.
car sales. I think it's one of the biggest things, and we'll see, but I think it's going to be. And the biggest thing I've done for business and jobs is deductibility, where all of that money that you're spending, 100%, think of it, expensing for all new equipment purchase, factory construction, including structure, every single thing you're allowed to deduct expensing 1 year. And that's what made our first tax bill, in my opinion, more than anything else, bringing your money back in. We have that, we have everything. Trillions of dollars, hundreds of billions, but trillions of dollars. Apple alone, Tim Cook brought in hundreds of billions of dollars. You couldn't do it under the old tax code. You'd have to pay so much tax, and just the bureaucracy of it. We made it very simple. We charged a fair rate, and we took in billions. Well, we have that. But the expensing, to me, was the thing that made it so successful. And the other thing is all of those tax cuts that we got, that was the largest tax cut in history. On top of adding to those cuts, we extended the original tax cuts. If we didn't extend, you would have had about a 58% tax increase from that point. And we were able to get that extended. So I want to thank the Speaker of the House, and I want to thank John Thune. And a lot of people thought that bill, because we put everything into that one, we took 4 years worth of things and we put them into the great big beautiful bill, and we got it passed. It was close, like about a quarter of a vote. It was on fumes. We thought for a couple of moments we were not going to be able to get it. Then we would have had to have it in 9 or 12 or 14 different bills. And I don't think we would have gotten many of them approved. We would have gotten some easily approved, but some we would have gotten no votes on. By putting it all together, we got everything. And it was a great job. And I think someday it's going to be appreciated. But among other things, it's the biggest tax cut in history for people and for businesses. So just enjoy it. And think of me every once in a while when you're hiring new people and making a lot of money. You just think about us. But I'm cutting a record number of job-killing regulations. That's the other thing. And I've already slashed more than $1 trillion worth of regulations this year. My last term, I gave the largest regulation cut in history, and now we're doing it again. In fact, for every new regulation, they're mandated to cut 10. And so far, it's for every new regulation, they've cut 30. So they have the idea. And very importantly, we stopped Joe Biden's radical crusade to kill oil and natural gas. Somehow, I don't think Saudi Arabia would have liked me too much if we had decided to kill oil and natural gas. There's nothing like it. It works. Windmills don't work. Other things, I don't want to get into it too much, but they don't work. What does work is natural gas, oil, nuclear, and other things. But the windmills are a disaster. I am the biggest negative person on windmills. They ruin your locations. They ruin. When I look at some of these countrysides that are littered with windmills, and every time it goes around, you lose money. The country loses money. It's a disaster. And I just hope that some of these countries that are losing their ass, we have countries that are going bankrupt because they're putting windmills all over the place. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money with energy. And we talk about oil, and we talk even clean, beautiful coal. I said, you're not allowed to mention the word coal unless you precede it by saying clean, beautiful. So I have my people in the office, they're talking about coal, right? And they go, sir, a clean, beautiful coal is doing very well, sir. And then 2 minutes later, clean, beautiful coal. Then he mentions the third time, sir, coal. No, it's clean and beautiful. Because it needs a public relations help. Coal needs a little help, public relations wise. So we refer to it as clean, beautiful coal. And it does have its place, that I can tell you. But we're streamlining permitting for all new energy projects, all new mining projects. And what used to take 28 days is now down to very little. But we had times when, not 28 days, we had times when things would take 14, 15, 16, and even 20 years to get approved. We have a maximum day, 28 days. That's the maximum it'll take. It'll never take more. You can come in with $1 trillion factory. You can come in with what it takes, a maximum of. You don't have to go years and years and years, be abused by bureaucracy. If you build a plant now, you're going to have your plant done within 28 days. And a lot of you are all, because I see everyone shaking their head, you're all agreeing. We're getting you approved by very smart people quickly. You know, when you used to walk in with plans done by the best engineers in the world, thousands of pages, and drop them on some guy who's been there for 28 years approving environmental impact statements, and he's looking at pages that he's never seen, and he's supposed to approve it. He has no idea what the hell is in those pages. So we know what we're doing. We're going to get maximum is 28 days. That's why we have so much under construction, and people can't believe it. They can't believe it. And again, remember what I said, most important thing, you're building your own electric plant. You're really becoming a utility in addition to doing what you're doing. But you're building all of the excess, all of that energy, all of that electricity is being built. And your excess electricity, you can sell back to the federal grid. So we even make it there. Under the deals being signed this week, the world's two leading energy superpowers, America and Saudi Arabia, are partnering on energy like we've never partnered before. American Saudi companies represented here today are joining on liquefied natural gas, infrastructure, constructions, and making both of our energy sectors. I mean, our sectors are becoming so strong. Just a quick story. In Louisiana, when I first time I got there were two massive LNG plants. One was under review for 14 years and was being rejected. The other one was for 18 years. The people in Louisiana, Doug, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And one was $20 billion, one was $24 billion, like the biggest things, like 3 Empire State Buildings lying on its side. It was massive. And I said, whatever happened with those plants? Well, sir, they're under review. How long has it been? 14 years and 17 years. And they had given up. Massive investments were being made by other countries and the richest people. They couldn't get them approved. I got myself involved. Right, Doug? The first one, I got approved in one day. The second one, I got a little cocky. I took my time. It took me 1 week. And they're both operating today, and they're tremendously successful. I got one, think of it. After 14 years, I was in office. I got involved. I got it done in 1 day. And it's been a tremendous success and made a lot of money for our country and for a lot of other people. And the other one took 1 week to get done. That one was under review, I think, for 14 or 15 years, both of them. So I'm very proud of that, actually. I also proudly ended the ridiculous Biden-era restrictions on artificial intelligence, and we will work closely with friends and partners like those in this room to build the largest, most powerful, most innovative AI ecosystem in the world. And we are going to work it so that you'll have a one approval process, not have to go through 50 states in the United States. You know, you can't go through 50 states. You have to get one approval. 50 states is a disaster because you'll have one woke state and you'll have to do all woke. You'll be back into the woke business. We don't have woke anymore in this country. It's virtually illegal. But you'll have a couple of wokesters, and we don't want to do that. We want to get the AI done, and I'm working with David. David's done a fantastic job. If he's here, I think he is. He is. Thank you. David's done a fantastic job. But we want one approval, one, and hopefully you have the right guy in the federal government. Hopefully you have the right president, but you have one approval, one approving body, not 50, not, you know, hundreds of people all over the country looking at what you're doing. And basically you're forced to take the worst and the most onerous, right, Jensen? Are you happy with that, Jensen? Thank you. If Jensen's happy, I'm happy. But what's very important, we have to do that. And we have a couple of very good, very well-meaning senators that think every state should have a right to approve. We're not going to do that because that will not allow you to do what we have to do. And we'll get that straightened out. Together, the United States and Saudi Arabia are unleashing really the most incredible new prosperity together. and we're also making history and forging peace. And I've settled 8 raging conflicts, 8 wars. I've settled 8 wars. I have 1 to go. You know what that one is? I thought that was going to be my easy one because I have a good relationship with President Putin, but I'm a little disappointed in President Putin right now. He knows that. I thought that was going to be the easy one. I settled 1 war, 36 years. I got it done in 1 day. I had another one, 32 years, millions of people killed. Even Congo and the Rwanda, they had 10 million people killed. It was out of control. I got that settled. I have a man's father who happens to be in this room doing a great job, right? Got that settled. I settled 8 wars. And I'll tell you, His Majesty would like me to do something very powerful having to do with Sudan. It was not on my my charts to be involved in that. I thought it was just something that was crazy and out of control. But I just see how important that is to you and to a lot of your friends in the room. Sudan, and we're going to start working in Sudan. I didn't think that that was one that was going to be so easy to do, but we're going to start working. Mohammed said, yeah, thank you. Thank you to you. No, it wasn't on my charts because I'm good at settling disputes. And I've always been. I've done very well with that over the years, even before this. But you know, I was talking about the different wars, and it's, look, India, Pakistan, they were going to go at it, nuclear weapons. I said, that's okay, you can go at it, but I'm putting a 350% tariff on each country. No more trade with the United States. No, you can't do that. I said, I'm going to do it. Come back to me and I'll take it down. But I'm not going to have you guys shooting nuclear weapons at each other, killing millions of people, and having the nuclear dust floating over Los Angeles. I'm not going to do it. They said, we don't like that. I said, I don't care if you like it or not. So I was all set. I told Scott, 350% tariff to settle that war. If you don't, we'll make a nice trade deal. They were in the midst of a deal. Now, no other president would have done that. Another guy would have, like Joe Biden, doesn't even know what countries we're talking about. He wouldn't have any idea. There'd be no tariffs, no nothing. Just the whole world would go to hell. But no, I used tariffs to settle all these wars. Not all of them. 5 of the 8 were settled because of the economy, because of trade, because of tariffs. So I did this. But, and then I'll tell you what, the Prime Minister of Pakistan called me. Thank you very much. He actually said, I saved millions, and he said it in front of Susie. He said, President Trump saved millions and millions of lives. He doesn't even know that, but he saved millions of lives, and he talks about it. And I got a call from Prime Minister Modi saying, we're done. I said, you're done with what? We're not going to go to war. I said, thank you very much. Let's make a deal. But I saved a lot of people, millions of people, on many other wars. Azerbaijan, you know what was happening there? I settled that. That was going on for many, many years. Actually, Putin called me. He said, I can't believe you got that one settled. We've been trying to settle that one for a long time. I said, don't worry about that. Just let me settle your frickin' war. Okay? You don't have to help me. I don't need any help. I need help with your war. And it'll get done. But working with the Crown Prince was amazing because he mentioned Sudan yesterday. And he said, sir, you're talking about a lot of wars, but there's a place on earth called Sudan. And it's horrible what's happening. And I viewed it as being just sort of a freelance, no government, no this, no that. And he explained the whole culture and the whole history. And it was very interesting to hear. Really amazing, actually, to hear. And, you know, we've already started working on that, okay? He said that would be the greatest thing you can do. That would be greater than what you've already done. That was your expression. Is that a correct expression? Pretty good. So we're working on that. We started about 30 minutes after you explained to us the great importance of that. I view it differently now than I did just a day ago. But we also, as you know, we had a historic ceasefire. We ended the war in Gaza. And 2 days ago, incredibly, the United Nations Security Council backed the Trump peace plan. And we have a great peace plan.
Okay, really quickly, another update on the markets. If something changes, we'll go back. But a lot of people were pointing out earlier, Tanner, why is SoFi down while the market is trying to rip higher? It is true. SoFi is having a struggling time here, still down 1.5%. But the meaning for this is pretty easy to understand. If the FOMC ends up getting delayed, no data for the October jobs release, then the chance that we end up seeing rate hikes goes down and down and down. Now, uncertainty continues to build up. We're now at a 68.2% chance of no rate cut, with only a 31.8% chance, essentially a 20% drop from yesterday on whether or not we are going to see a 25 basis point cut tomorrow. So, yeah, exactly. No data for essentially 2 months is quite an uncertain time. People feel like they're driving blind. They don't want to do that. They end up pulling money off the table, so then they're not hurt, right? Protect your capital at all costs. That's sort of the sentiment that's going around. So either way, we ended up seeing a little bit of a buy the dip moment in that quick succession when we got the news, to people saying, hey, you know what? We understand we're going to buy the dip. Yeah. But remember, SoFi is extremely rate sensitive. So if we end up seeing, no rate cut come in December, that spells bad news for SoFi stock. Is it the end? Does it mean they go into negatives? Does it mean they lose money? No. But does it mean that they're going to put up the best numbers that we've seen them do? Obviously not. No. Remember, though, in their guidance for SoFi, they actually guided for 1.5 rate cuts in 2025. We've already seen 2 rate cuts, 50 basis points of cuts in 2025. And there is right now only a 32% chance of a third rate cut, a 75th basis point cut, or totaling 75 basis points worth of cuts to, what would it be, 3.75% on a Fed funds. So it would just be additive to what people are expecting from SoFi, not necessarily whether or not their business can survive in this rate environment. That is already, signed in. Okay. If MBS ends up turning around and saying, hey, it's actually not 1 trillion, it's 2 trillion, then we'll bounce. That's for sure. I've lost my ass on BMNR and Misty, and SoFi I'm stuck at 28.90. Well, I will say, just based on these 3 picks, if that's what your portfolio is made up of, you are extremely high risk, like extremely. I think that whenever people pitch a bunch of stocks, like I talk about, BMNR, SoFi, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, Shopify, Shift4, PayPal as of most recently, Meta, all of these names, and then people go, okay, well, which one has the highest amount of upside? Well, BMNR could have the highest amount of upside. But it also has the highest amount of downside. Okay, deal. I'm going to put 40% of my portfolio into BMNR. Well, part of the reason why Google is such an amazing investment, and honestly will still be here at $300 a share. It doesn't mean that there's no upside, but the exciting part about this business is that if they can continue to compound in high teens rates, or potentially even accelerate that to potentially one day get that, even higher, maybe 20% or something like this, you are beating the S&P 500. You're beating global GDP. You're still putting up insanely high margin growth. Okay, while also having this very recurrent, sticky business that has very little competitors. Okay, so the reason why I love the Mag 7 names is not because I am one of those types of investors who wants to limit my upside. Okay, no investor wants to limit their upside. But during down times, how well do you sleep? How often whenever you're holding Mag 7 names, do you feel quote unquote stuck in your position whenever you're buying just shares of something, not going into aggressive call options or something like this, leaps, all of these things that everyone says is, very low risk until the risk comes and then they end up getting burnt, right? Whenever I do talk about names, even like my new additions of Reddit, Axon, or BM&R, these are the lowest percentage positions in my portfolio comparatively to the Mag 7 names and the new banks and the SoFis and the Robinhoods and all of these that are much larger, more proven businesses than some of my newer positions. And also it's a sort of a scary thought as well. Not everyone should be investing. I think, well, everyone should be investing. It's just maybe not for the same tools, right? Not everyone should be growth investing. Not everyone should be focused on AI and technology, because I think a lot of people don't even really believe in these technologies. And I feel like a lot of people who are holding on to BM&R don't even believe in Ethereum. They just believe that it's what's going to make them the most amount of money. And honestly, your best practice, because it's going to be a lot more fun, is just go to the casino, because your chance of winning is roughly the same. You're essentially putting your money all on black or red here and saying, okay, well, I'm going to double or go bust. That's not really what investing is about. Really, what we want to try to do is lower our downside completely and then find some yield. And we only find that yield if it's higher than the risk-free rate that you could see in, long-term savings accounts or certified deposits or something like this. The only reason why you would take on risk is to beat those rates, not so then you could lose or go bust. Go to a casino if that's your preference. But yeah. So I'm a growth investor through and through, but it doesn't mean that I make speculative plays on companies that I don't either know of or I don't believe in the industry that they're in. So let's keep that in mind as we talk about AI, which I fully do believe in, as we talk about Nvidia tonight, which, by the way, Nvidia up 2%, 185 going into their earnings tonight. We ended up seeing the last 5 days be, not even the last 5 days, the last month being pretty crazy. The price of 176 up to 212, down to 179, and starting to climb back up to 185. And by the way, all analyst predictions going into earnings are extremely, extremely bullish on Nvidia. Remember, this is a company, it was a $5 trillion business. It's now bled off about $500 billion of market cap. But still, the average price, and I don't actually know the answer to this, but this is all analysts, top analyst 244, all analysts 243. But it removes the sell rating, I guess. Anyway, if we go down, excluding any of the potential AI ones, which I don't actually see here, which is good. I hate those freaking things. And look at all the re-ratings just in the last couple days. We see Citi at 220, 235, 265, 230, 261, 235, 265, 250, 220, 210, 215, 275, 250, 250, 225. Nothing is even near, under 200 or anything along those lines. We've even seen some price targets from HSBC and Cantor Fitzgerald that are in the $300 ranges, starting to push much closer to that inevitable $10 trillion, which I do think will happen over the next, let's call it 3, 4, 5 years, something like this. But we all know what Jensen is hoping for, right? That additional $500 billion in data center revenue over the next 6 quarters. We're going to see one of those pieces right now for, it's actually Q3 of 2026, but that's their fiscal year. So it's Q3 of 2025 regular time. The month is a month off, but anyway, that's just going to be confusing rather than helpful. So Jensen is going to show us some of those numbers today. Okay. That's at 4:20 is when it should be released. We'll be live at 3:45. But he just needs to continue to prove to people that they can continuously put up these numbers, that gross margins are going to improve over time, hopefully getting above that 75% margin over the long term. And that's how a lot of this belief is going to be made. Honestly, the truth is that people are not, not listening to Trump or not listening to Jensen. It's just that they don't believe that these deals in this data center plans and the $1.5 trillion from Sam Altman is even going to come true. It's much easier to sign your name on paper than it is to potentially, go through and find that growth and actually pay for those deals. I think they are right that a lot of those deals are going to potentially end in litigation and not go through. But I'm not sure that that's the case for the largest businesses or even the open AIs. Like I do actually have high belief that they will go through with a lot of that spend. It's just a matter of, is every name going to survive? And clearly that's not going to be the case. But data center spend is happening. I mean, we're seeing it from every analyst, from every investor, from every, and I don't mean investor like me. I'm talking about more the Brookfields or the ABBs or something like this, where these guys are putting up the real capital that are building up these data centers, and they're saying, hey, I mean, nothing is slowing down here. Anthropic doing another deal as the market is cooling on this hype, right? They're doing another deal with Microsoft and Nvidia. Humane is continuing their deals with Nvidia. We just keep pushing forward. So that's how you know that a technological revolution might truly be happening, is that even when the hype is dying down, the deals are still flowing, right? We'll see. AMD is going to be a large beneficiary as well. It's just, today is Nvidia's day. And as you guys know, it's over 40+% of my portfolio. Now, the funny thing about that is I'm not a trader. So I'm not looking to play this earnings or try to capitalize on what I think is going to happen. If I were to be very honest with you guys, I don't think today is going to be much of anything for the stock. I think we're going to see great numbers. Maybe we see a 4% pop or something like this, and that could probably go in either direction. But the truth is that I'm not betting on today's pricing changing the way that I think about Nvidia's stock. It hasn't in the past. I think that a lot of the movement that we end up seeing from Nvidia is from the press releases that they end up doing, the GTCs, and just the, not time decay, but sort of time appreciation. We just need to see that they, keep spending. Okay. I sold 50% of Nvidia. Don't trust this market. And that's perfectly fine. That's what makes a market. You do you. I'll do me. Nvidia rocketed after GTC. Yeah, because they continued to prove that they have more deals going forward. And I see a bunch of people saying, cap or anything like this. We saw it in 2022 and 2021. Maybe you guys are, and I'm not calling all of you guys new, but let's say some people that don't believe what I'm saying are saying that this is new, or this is not going to happen, or it's cap, or whatever the saying is. In 2021, 2022, I was fighting off bear cases about Nvidia back then. I mean, you have to listen to what the smart builders are doing in the world. It's worked out for me. And then the next big sort of thing that I would also say is, don't fight the government. Okay? A lot of people say don't fight the Fed. It's true. But government regulation is going to absolutely kill your business. And one of the things that Trump is doing, or trying to do, is deregulate as much and as safely as possible. And then also, two, give every permanent, every acceleration, every handout that they possibly can to Jensen Huang and Nvidia. I mean, that is the truth. We just listened to Trump earlier on in this call, where he said anything for Jensen that we can get him, we'll try to get it. Like when Jensen's happy, we're happy. That's a good place to be. You want to be in that position where the, you know, one of the most powerful people in the world, Trump, I know it's a lot of you guys don't like him. A lot of you guys do very much like him. He controls markets. His talks, his speeches do affect how, you know, the U.S. economy is doing. So he sets the rules, whether you like it or not. You should listen to them and plan accordingly. And he is right on there with Jensen Huang. And it's also the reason why I am so bullish on Nvidia over many other names, is he is so apolitical. It's insane. He's playing his cards perfectly. He can go to China and say, you know, they've been a 30-year player with China, and shake hands. They say, you know what, we'll be partners with them for the next 30 years. And then in the same breath, come over and scream, America, 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 and be the biggest, you know, American bull. But that's what you want out of a great business leader. Apolitical, playing both sides, and trying to bring home the bacon, as they say. Okay. And he is the old guard of the last, you know, really cool CEO. They're dropping off like flies, I'm telling you. It's all weirdos now. No, I'm kidding. I'm losing a bunch of interviews potentially in the future, but yeah. Okay. Even if AI optimized, even if AI is optimized, they'd still need a lot of data centers. A lot. Optimization plus compute equals more output. I forget where I listened to it. It might have been CERN Basher, I think, if I'm giving the right assessment. And it was like talking about the electrification of cities as they started to bring electricity to all of the, you know, like city street lamps and all these things. And then saying that, you know, electricity is in a bubble before we even have it in homes or businesses or anything along these lines. Like, we're just seeing the early innings of, like, of course, every single time Jensen and many of these other players advance the chips, that is going to, you know, solve a lot of the power problems. So people think that power needs to catch up to AI or catch up to the chips. It's not 100% true. The chips are going to do a lot more of the power efficiency gains as well, just delivering, you know, if they can 30x or maybe even 10x token output for the same amount of power generation required. So they will try to solve a lot of their own problems, but then in the same breath, you do have energy trying to catch up as well. Regardless, we are going to need a lot more data centers for just where we're going in artificial intelligence, agentic AI, which is so nascent, it's insane. Like, why? How do people think that we are in a bubble for artificial intelligence, and you guys are barely using ChatGPT on a daily basis? Like, some of you guys are like asking it to help with your email. You know, you don't think businesses are going to use it full time, over 1,000 computers, to double check and triple check their data and help with research and like in every single business, in every sector, in everything. I was sitting at a red light the other day, just sitting there, and there's the street across from me that has the green or like that's running horizontal is green. There's no cars there. And I'm like, when is AI going to step up and just the video recognition is just going to realize that there's no danger here? That's like why the Unabomber freaked out. Like, if you've seen those things, it's like, why is technology so good but so bad at the same time? AI is going to solve those red light problems. It's going to solve the self-driving problems. It's going to solve that sleepy driver that we watched in the video the other day. It's going to, you know, we're essentially putting reasoning into text, into video, into images, into protein folding in our bodies. We're talking about personalized medicine. All of this is is going to happen in the EU as well. That's like saying there's going to be a country that doesn't adopt a computer or doesn't adopt a smartphone. It's dumb. It's not true. They're just going to fall behind and then adopt slowly behind us. They are every single country, company, person will need to integrate with artificial intelligence, or else they're just going to lose their jobs. They're going to lose their jobs. They're going to lose their status. It's just self-destruction. It's like the farmer that wouldn't adapt to tractors or something. No. Me and the mules and my 15 kids will handle this with our pitchforks. Good luck, Grandpa. You're done. You're gone. Okay. That's my example. I did end up talking about energy and energy affordability. And let's quickly watch a video on how that's advancing with the energy secretary, Chris Wright.
Administration will give Constellation Energy a $1 billion federal loan to restart the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant.
You guys can hear it, right?
The
I'm
White
not
House
going
also
crazy.
Announced a nuclear deal with
You guys
Saudi Arabia. Federal loan to restart the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania. The White House also announced a nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia. Join us now to give us the latest, Energy Secretary Chris Wright. Good to see you, Mr. Secretary. Good morning.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Can't believe it's been, is that 40 years? Not quite, since it happened. And I was a little bit tongue-in-cheek earlier with Andrew off camera. I said, do you remember how many people died at 3 Mile Island? And it reminded me of The Simpsons, where the guy has the running death toll, stands at 0. It was 0. Was it not? What the reaction and what it did to the nuclear power industry was kind of mind-boggling. How did that happen?
It was. It's just much easier to sell fear than to sell reassurance. Of course, it was an early reactor with some bad designs and a human error, but that shouldn't even be possible to happen. But you're right, even with mechanical system design problems, human errors, no meaningful radiation was released, no impacts on human health, but it scared everyone. And the China Syndrome movie was out then, and we had a society ready to be fearful of nuclear power. Fortunately, now we've got, 70 years of data from nuclear operating. It's the safest way to produce energy around the world. And we have far safer designs, operations, and experience today. So the reactor number 2 that had that failure, was long ago permanently shut down. This is reactor number 1 that ran all the way until 6 years ago, was only recently shut down, shouldn't have been shut down. And now we're working with Constellation Energy to get that back up. The United States needs more affordable, reliable, secure energy. People are tired of expensive electricity prices, and the Trump administration is all in to do something about it.
Why was it shut down 6 years ago?
We had a bad market design, which we still struggle with a little bit in the electricity world, but we're fixing that as well. That made it so that reactors, when the wind bid in their power at basically free, because they were getting paid 4 cents for producing power, even if no one else paid for them. And it just ended out chipping away at the economics of operating a reactor that can always be on and provide steady baseload power. But there's a lot of things to fix in the electricity grid, and certainly a lot of 4 years of Biden policies that didn't allow affordable, reliable new sources to come on, and in fact was in the midst of shutting down tens of gigawatts of affordable, reliable power. But those days are past us, and this is just one thing that the Trump administration's doing to bring new power online for Americans.
I guess it's an all-in energy sort of a mentality that we have, and everybody kind of says that. It's not a commentary on peak oil or fossil fuels, or is it a commentary that renewable is not going to, I guess this is renewable actually, or is it a commentary that maybe wind and solar aren't going to be online quickly enough that we're going to absolutely need to get back into this business in a big way. And how long won't it take 20 years from now if you start a project? Or is the permitting easier, or will it be easier?
No, this new power plant will be on in about 18 months. So
No,
this
totally new.
restart.
Totally new, Chris. If we were not reactor number, whichever one it was, but let's say we want to start from scratch.
Well, we got several reactors starting from scratch relatively soon. So a large reactor like this reactor, those are probably 7 or 8 years to construct, and you'll see several of them under construction in the U.S. in the next 12 months. But some of the small modular reactors you're going to see go under construction next year, they'll only be 3 or 4 years. So it's not next year, but we're going to see new nuclear power plants in the next several years. You're going to see lots of new natural gas power plants, and you're going to see lots of power uprates, meaning getting 10% more power out of existing nuclear power plants, 10% more power out of existing hydro facilities and natural gas plants. So we're going to have a lot of new power coming through creative sources in the short term, and then you'll see a lot of construction for long-term and new assets coming as well.
Mr. Secretary, when you think about loaning money to private enterprise, and we have big conversations in this country now about industrial policy and the role of the government, role of business, how do you see that in this context?
Well, the government smothered nuclear power over the last 4 or 5 decades. We put it at an unfair competitive advantage by an overarching regulatory regime that was not focused just on safety. It was on safety and bureaucracy and answering to political concerns and layering another layer. So we took an industry that started so strong in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and smothered it. So I'm a capitalist. But what the government needs to do is give nuclear a fair playing field again, which is reform of the regulatory regime, reestablish the nuclear supply chain in our country, and bring private capital back into nuclear power. And there's huge interest for private capital to come back in, but the early moving projects, Andrew, will have government either credit guarantees or debt that's provided. We'll be out of that business in 3, 4, 5, 6 years. This is just to get an industry started again.
Very good. Would you say, Mr. Secretary, we're going to go, but would you say wind power, is that the administration has no interest in that whatsoever, and actually is?
No, they don't. We already heard Trump say that. Okay. Bloom Energy, by the way, up 3.8% on the day. Oklo up 5.35%. Centrus Energy up 6.77%. And I don't know what happened with Transmedics. They probably have some press release on this, but this stock is the only name doing very well, up 13%. TMDX. Let's see what we can find on Transmedics. But oh, it looks like an insider buy. CEO bought $1 million worth of shares. Yeah. All right. An extra little buy from the CEO. Cash, all cash purchase. Fun. Wix ended up showing off their earnings, which my understanding, I didn't follow the earnings, but they had a double beat. They have a vibe coding solution that is taking massive market share that also beat expectations on ARR as well. And stock's down 18%. I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, especially the fact that Shopify is up 3.3%. So it's not a market-based problem. Okay. Yeah, no, crypto's getting killed. You guys are right. Look at this. Holy, we're below 2,900. At some point, you got to laugh to yourself, right? Like, this is insane. You know? And if you're holding on to ETH, or especially if you've been a long-term holder, you've seen this volatility before. We've seen this this trend, right? So it happens. Now, if you're in BM&R, it feels very new. but it's still holding the exact same underlying asset. And that, if, the total amount of utility of Ethereum continues to climb, then the price of Ethereum should climb with it. But then on the next breath, if you start to buy things like BMNU, then you also do have some decay there from that leverage, right? So some of that is not great to hold on to over the last little bit, in that you might not recover fully, even if you are to wait it out. It's not really how it works. So for the long term, those 2x leverage funds, or even 3 or 5x, as some some companies have tried to put out recently, it's all not my favorite. Okay. There is actual decay on the 2x funds. It is true. Yeah, they're not meant to be held. Yeah. Venture gaming here is right. They are meant, like, literally for trading, those 2x funds. Why is ETH falling so much? Well, that's up to speculation, really. But there's some people that believe that this is a 4-year cycle. There's some people that believe that maybe there's cause to believe that a Circle or a Stripe is coming out with their own L1s, like Arc or Tempo or some of these things, to reduce reliance away from Ethereum. There's a couple of these small ideas that are going around that are potentially tainting Ethereum, but we're really not seeing it whenever you see total assets being held on ETH, like stable coins and real world assets. That continues to go up, and some people just like de-risking from time to time. Okay. ETH hasn't been this low since 4 months ago. Yeah, I mean, you got to put it into perspective, right? I think that's a great way to put it. Okay, let's see what other questions everyone has in chat. Should BMNR dilute more to buy ETH? Only if they are above MNAV. If they are below MNAV, then that would be like selling your, I don't know, selling your US dollars to buy US dollars. It just doesn't even make any sense. If you're below MNAV, your entire company is made up of Ethereum. You don't want to get rid of that, because that's what you're doing whenever you dilute, is you are essentially lowering your ownership in that Ethereum to go out and buy Ethereum. Okay. Aren't stablecoins easy to make? Yeah, they're easy to make on Ethereum. So that's why I believe that the L1 will be really easy to make. Or that's why it will start growing. Have you started researching / buying Zeta? I have not started buying Zeta. I was listening to some calls, but not in the last few days. Yeah. Can you talk about staking? Well, the reason why they're not staking is still a little bit of a mystery. My understanding is that they have a large position in ETH, roughly 3% of all ETH. And if they go to stake that, or a percentage of that, you're essentially locking it up. So it can make, the rest of Ethereum supply potentially a little bit more volatile. I don't think they want to do that. I've heard that conspiracy. I've also heard that it's not going to be super easy to all in one stake it all together, but that you would see them slowly start. Here, I'm getting a call from Steven Fiorillo. Let's see what's going on. Steven, I'm live. I'm live right now. What's up?
You're live?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Am I on the thing?
Yep.
Okay. Call me when you're not live, please.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Anything to say to the to everyone?
Yes. Nvidia's going to crush earnings. Never fear.
Okay. Thanks, brother. All right.
Nvidia's going to crush earnings. Now, if there's a sell-off, that's a different story. But I am envisioning 54 billion plus of revenue, which is going to be a very big year-over-year increase.
Understood. Understood. And now, how long have we been bullish on Nvidia? Is this, you know, game new to us?
No.
So you're not worried that the market is a little bit choppy on their products. This is just
Look,
same as always.
Your channel's a little PG compared to mine.
Well, okay, well then don't. I've pulled you away from the mic.
Oh.
No, because you just alluded to the fact that you're going to swear into the mic. Okay, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to keep it PG. I'm in the middle of the day. Everyone's at work.
All right. You can put me back to the mic.
Okay.
So since Tanner's channel is PG, I will keep it PG. I am not worried about the market. I am not worried about their perception of NVIDIA. I go by the numbers, and the numbers support the current valuation. The numbers indicate that the valuation is actually at a very attractive multiple on a forward basis. I'm expecting, based off of what TSM, Taiwan Semi, produced in this quarter's revenue, and how much the hyperscalers allocated toward CapEx, that NVIDIA is going to have an outstanding quarter. And I'm expecting them to come in above $54 billion, which is where they guided plus or minus 1% to 2%. I am going to say that they're coming in above 54 based on those factors. So no matter what the price action is today, as long as they give good guidance, I don't care.
Now, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure, but was that PG enough for you?
That was very PG, and I appreciate it.
Okay.
People are calling you the soy milkman.
You know what? Don't come at me with that soy stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to ask you, do you think that data center revenue is going to accelerate, quarter over quarter on a year-over-year basis?
Yes, and I don't think the proprietary chips that are being made are going to impact their data center numbers. I think that's for a completely separate workload for their actual generative AI workloads. I'm not worried about it.
Let's go. All right, Steve, thanks, brother. I'll call.
Real quick, are we still doing our thing tonight at 9?
Yeah.
All right. Can you set up the stream and just send it to me so I can share it, because I'm not going to be home for a while.
Yeah.
All right, so just set up the stream, do your thumbnail, and just send it to me so I can share it out.
Cool. All right. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye. This guy wanted to say bad words into the mic. It's not going to happen. Okay. He's the screaming milkman. Yeah. I mean, it's true. It's kind of nice whenever they report a little bit later. Now, there is an additional month that's in NVIDIA's numbers that, like, it doesn't quite their Q3 and other companies' Q3s don't align. Okay. They're off slightly by a month. Okay. So there is about a 33% in the dark type quarter. But yeah, it still, I think, will be a smashing result, and that it doesn't mean that the numbers are going to be, or that the stock is going to be all that bullish. But what we need to continuously see is improved data center revenue. Talk about, what would be additive is an increase in dividends, buybacks. Them talking about how they're going to use that additional capital, because they're bringing in my brain sometimes works faster than my mouth. Okay. So I apologize. But last time that I was talking with Jose on Q2's earnings, okay, they asked Jose asked, what do you think they're going to do with all of this capital? And I specifically said, and you can go back, it's recorded, that they are going to use this money as sort of a venture arm to go buy companies that are in the space to benefit off of their success in the markets. They've done this very heavily with names like CoreWeave. Now they have a small position in Nebius as well, and they're going to take stake in, OpenAI that took stake in AMD. They're going to take stake in Anthropic. They're going to take stake in Intel. And it's playing out exactly how I had hoped. They are printing so much freaking cash because unlike the Amazons of the world, unlike the TSMs of the world, their capital expenditures for property and equipment, it's nothing. They're so free cash flow generative that they don't know what to do with all this capital. So they are going to go out and invest in those businesses that are continuously making artificial intelligence and potentially technology in general a larger and larger part of their business, which is the venture arm. So that's what I hope that they continue to talk about, how that's benefiting them, how that allows them to get, strategic pipelines as well. Like if they're working with TSMC or especially Intel now that they have stake in these businesses, that almost allows them front and center of ordering from those companies whenever they need equipment. Now, people worry about that on Nvidia's side whenever they take stake in OpenAI and whenever they take stake in Anthropic, that those companies will be served first before the Metas, before the Googles, before the Microsofts, because they have equity stake in those businesses. Now, a lot of people ask why Nvidia doesn't set up their own data centers and why they don't run their own foundries. Is exactly that perspective, okay? That they want their customers to not feel like they are serving themselves first and taking away their clients. They serve a specific, very important, low-risk niche in the middle of the supply chain that is not disrupting TSM's business and is not disrupting the big data center business, but is being the most important link in that chain where they can actually, have a large charge of the margin. So the train continues. I remain very, very happy. Okay. They need to buy TSMC. They won't. They don't want the risk. They don't want the risk at all. They don't want the power plant, or not the power plant, sorry. They don't want the plants. They don't want the buildings. They don't want any of it. That's all risk. They're essentially just designers. But it allows them to be extremely cash flow positive. Which month isn't in this report? July or September? July. This would be, wait, what is it? August, September, October. How do you feel about the circular financing, cyclical financing, whatever not cyclical financing, circular financing? I'm fine with it, honestly. That's every market ever in existence, and now people are worried about it. Nvidia is getting the better end of all of those deals. Everyone goes, oh, AMD's doing it, Nvidia's doing it. No, they're not. AMD had to give away their equity to end up getting their chips purchased. Nvidia end up buying one of the fastest growing AI startups, and those customers with their money is going to go buy their chips. Great. I love it. They get their money back and equity. When did equity not become a reasonable way to pay for something? Whenever you go to buy entire businesses, you can pay cash or you can pay with equity. If JP Morgan comes to go buy SoFi and they say, hey, we're doing an all stock deal, investors would say, deal. We would raise our hand. So now I think people are looking at it and going, oh, Nvidia is shilling out money and they're just getting it back. Why didn't they just keep it in their own pocket? No, they're getting OpenAI shares. People are acting like they're not getting a stake in the fastest growing American company of all time. OpenAI, whether you guys like Sam Altman or not, is the most successful startup in history. In history. There's not another one. You guys can't name another one. They went from 0 to 500 billion in a couple years. It's never happened before. They've broken 1,000 world records in business, and Jensen is taking a stake in that hopeful continuous success. And you know how he knows that they're going to be successful? Because he's supplying them with his chips that he knows are the top of the rung. Point is, use your money to buy equity if you want that. Yeah, but he's doing that. And then he's also having that customer buy their product. I like Nvidia. Nvidia's buying nothing from me. So all my money is going in to buy their stock, and they buy nothing from me. Wouldn't it be great if I went to buy the company that I already wanted to buy, and then Jensen turned around and said, oh, by the way, Tanner, we'll buy your course. I'd be like, fantastic. Thank you, Jensen. We're actually giving your course to every single one of our employees. You know what? You're such a sweetheart, Jensen. Thank you so much. I was already buying your stock, but I appreciate it. You are 40. Dude, before I started rebuying this stock, my price or my average price in Nvidia was $5.68. Okay. I don't think people realize how green on this name I really am. After I began, heavily purchasing from selling Tesla and rebuying Nvidia during the DeepSeek incident, my average cost essentially went, over $20 because I was buying heavily in the $100 ranges. But like, I've been buying late 2018, way back whenever I was taking advantage of buying chips because there was a crypto dip and people were using I forget what series of NVIDIA GPU it was, the consumer chips, to end up setting up crypto rigs. I'm not messed at all. I'm extremely green on NVIDIA. It's by far the best investment I've ever made with my money. Just prove it, show it. I mean, you can pay for it. That's why I have a masterclass. But yeah. I do remember it being the 1080, but I don't remember that being like, was it the 1080 or was it the 980s? Because I think that the timeline, I need to look back. I don't even remember. When did Ned Flanders get a YouTube channel? It's true. I was going to dress up for as Ned Flanders from Halloween or at, for Halloween, but I didn't have that color of green sweatshirt. Well, it wouldn't be the 970. They had the 80s series during the 900 runs. No, I had a 970. And at the time, I know I wasn't buying the best of the best chips. I remember the 10 series was an extremely big deal. The difference in the 700, 800, and the 900 series was like very small. And then they went to the 10s, 20s, and 30. Like the 10 was so incredibly important. That was like a major breakthrough in computer gaming for sure. PayPal, please. Let's take a look at PayPal stock. Okay. PayPal stock down 2% to 59.31. Honestly, what I'm really thinking about PayPal and why I'm like questioning this or not. There was actually a fireside chat this morning, right in the morning with Alex Chris. And honestly, it wasn't bullish at all. He was really, really bearish, actually. He said, whenever I joined, I thought that this was going to be a much quicker turnaround. It's just going to be way harder of a slog. And like the way it was set up over the past 15 years was done so poorly that like we almost have to rip and replace each system because we gave these companies code and then they put it wherever they wanted in their code base. So now in order for them to go find it, like we have to essentially assign an engineer with every single one of our 35 million merchants to go in, find it, rip, and replace. And now the new solution is much better, and they'll be able to update it in live time. But the old system was just terrible. And yeah, complete spaghetti code. Complete. So they have to assign an engineer to get people over to the new PPCP, which is PayPal Complete Payments. That looks terrible. And who knows? Maybe AI will be able to solve those solutions. But as he said, like right now, we're not able to mass put out a brochure or an email or something like this to say, this is how you update to the new PPCP, because everyone's just lost and they don't know what they're doing in their own spaghetti code. So PayPal, no bueno there. And I just think about artificial intelligence. I'm like, man, what is going to double first? Does PayPal get to 120 or does Nebius get to 175 or 180 first? And honestly, it's just probably Nebius. It's just whether or not I don't know. So yeah, it's just incredibly cheap. Like this company, the interesting part about PayPal is that like tomorrow it could be bought by a big player in the space. It is too cheap. Apple should buy this company tomorrow. Apple, with a lot of their services and getting more ingrained with Apple Pay and some of the P2P services with Venmo, if those were all Apple exclusive products, like they would have such a moat. They already do, but they want to deepen it constantly. And Apple should just buy this business. But we know they've had an opportunity to buy Perplexity, to buy ChatGPT. They've had an opportunity to buy Anthropic. They are not but Tim Cook might be out as early as next year. So who knows? Maybe that's the opportunity for PayPal one day is an acquisition. Think of the dividends. No, I agree, but I'm not a dividend investor. I'm not saying that my money is not, or that your money is potentially lost on PayPal. I don't think that that's true. I think that it's so cheap that your money will do well. It's just, what's the opportunity cost from me not putting this into an area that I just know is the most important segment that we've ever seen in all of history, which is artificial intelligence? Like I always talk about not fighting the government. Don't fight innovation. Why would I avoid artificial intelligence to pour my money into a turnaround play? That's not really playing in artificial intelligence. It's not like, betting on Google or Meta or something like this and saying, hey, you know what? These companies have been a little oversold right now, and I think they're going to turn around. Which, by the way, is what I was saying on Google at 140, not what I'm saying now. Obviously, we did just double. But Meta is taking a big sell-off because they are going full force into artificial intelligence, and people are saying, hey, they might be going in too hard. I don't know. You said you'd buy below 60. No, I did just buy a very small teaser position in PayPal, but you're given new information every day. I just had a fireside chat with Alex Chris, which was just essentially listen to it. It's bearish. He talked about how long of a slog this is going to be, how hard it's going to be for them to turn around branded checkout. He said Venmo is awesome and it's going to continue to be awesome, but you're not going to see really any benefits from PayPal World or anything along these lines till 2026. And we don't know how big those are even going to be. So it just seems, and why I think they're also taking a hit today is it just seems like a long path. So who knows? Meta is cheap even if their AI fails. I don't even know if, like, what does AI failing mean? Like, I think this whole run to AGI is not even the goal. I just think it's, you know, this it's almost like a company saying that their website failed or something. Like, I don't even know how that what that means. There's going to be companies that do it better, but it doesn't mean like Costco has not really done e-commerce well. But have you said that e-commerce has failed? That they failed e-commerce? I don't know if that's true. I do right now see Nebius still as a very speculative play, just purely on my knowledge of the investment. I don't have the conviction like I do in Nvidia. So it remains a small percentage of my portfolio. But you know what's a smaller position than my Nebius position? PayPal. I'm still in Chime, sitting fine. Nice glass of wine. Yeah. No, that name I don't want to be in forever either. But right now we're sitting fine. Okay. Does the CEO want to keep share price low so they gobble up more shares? No, or else they wouldn't have issued a dividend. And they would have just supercharged the buyback. You know. I think he's just getting a little fatigued. I think that he was like, oh, it was poorly run business, and I'm going to come in and turn this around. And you're really getting to see through Alex Chris's own eyes, like what it means to turn around a cruise ship. It's not easy. There's so much work to be done. Okay. Scott, I do think that that is another thing, like AI in terms of healthcare, and like, I think so. Too many people look at artificial intelligence as like, okay, is this in a bubble, rather than like, okay, does this help us accelerate GDP faster than 2%? Does this put us more on a path to 3 or 4%? And I would venture a bet that that's definitely a yes. And if that's the case, it's the most important technology ever. So, yeah. Let's get off of PayPal really quick. Let's check the Qs. NASDAQ 100 index here up 0.4, which was a nice little relief from the large dip that we saw from the rescheduling. ASST is holding up better than BMNR, BTC versus ETH. Interesting. BMNR is crap, sell every single share. Why? Do you believe in Ethereum and don't believe in BMNR? And then give me the reason why. Everyone's calling him Scam Lee and all these things, and it gives me zero reasons. Absolutely zero. Look at the Google search, guys. Where is revenue in bears in the 2000s? Not even the bears in the 2000s. Talk about the bear, including me, the bears of Google. Whenever ChatGPT first came out, I was like, man, I missed the ultra dip on Google, because whenever it was $90, I was talking mad crap about Google. I was like, this thing's going lower. This company is going to burn up. Sundar is not him. And then at 140, actually, it had to head much higher than that, and then it went back down to 140. And then I was like, no, they're going to be absolutely fine. You need to look at the, like, just the numbers beats the story. There's one thing to say, and even that with PayPal or something is true. Like, you can say, oh, PayPal's dead. Apple Pay and Cash App and stable coins are going to eat their lunch. And then you actually look at the numbers, you're like, well, they're still growing. and that's exactly what Google was. Google was going to die and no one's going to use it. No one even uses Google anymore. And the next generation's on ChatGPT. And my kids just said, oh, ChatGPT that. They didn't use the Google verb. Then you look at their numbers, like impressions up, revenues up. Their other segments other than search are growing even faster. Gemini and AI mode and AI overviews are doing as much or if not even more revenue than per Google search. And they're lowering their total cost per query on search, which was my biggest concern, by which actually, whenever Sundar said that, he said that they lowered the total cost total cost per AI query by 85% over the last 18 months, and how that's going to continue again and again and again. I was like, okay, my bear case is gone. This is going to zero. Okay. Jeez. Okay. Is the FOMC right now? I didn't even see. Oh my gosh. I was actually just about to go to be back for what do you call it? Nvidia earnings. So you guys go. I'm gonna go eat lunch. I'll probably read up about it later. Yeah. Most participants, okay, I'll read just one thing and then I'll go. Most participants judge that further downturn adjustments to the target range for the federal funds rate would likely be appropriate as the committee moved to a more neutral policy stance over time, although several of these participants indicated that they did not necessarily view another 25 base point reduction as likely to be appropriate at the December meeting. Several participants assessed that further lowering of a rate range for the federal funds rate could well be appropriate in December if the economy evolved about as expected over the coming intermeeting period. Geez, not one of those reading days. Many participants suggested that under their economic outlooks, it would be likely to be appropriate to keep the market range unchanged for the rest of the year. All participants agreed that monetary policy was not on a preset course and would be informed by a wide range of incoming data, the evolving economic outlook, and the balance of risks. Yeah, so the chance of a rate cut's going to fall. Yeah, sitting at 65% right now. Okay, regardless, I am going to go and see you guys back here at 3:45. Okay? The market is going to probably fall on some of that highlight right there. Yeah. Okay. Okay, wait. Well, the Federal Open Market Committee approved a cut at the meeting, the path forward shows less creation. Disagreements stretched into the outlook for December, while officials expressed skepticism about the need for an additional cut that rates have been widely anticipating, with many saying no more rate cuts are needed, at least in 2025. Whether the Federal Open Market Committee approved a rate cut at the meeting, the path forward looks less... yeah, no, we just read that. Okay, we've already covered all this. Previous to Powell's statements, traders have been pricing in a near certainty of another move on the December 9th to 10th session. As of Wednesday afternoon, that has been reduced to a 1 in 3 chance. The minutes did not say most participants saw further rate cuts likely. The minutes did note that most participants said further rate cuts are likely in the future, though not necessary in December. Ultimately, the FOMC approved a 0.25% rate reduction in the overnight borrowing rate to the range of 3.75 to 4%, but the 10-2 vote was not indicative of how split the officials were at the institution, not generally knowing for dissent. Okay. So you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a chance. But not a big one. You're probably going to see the market fall over the next little bit. Okay. See you guys back here at 3:45 as I'm going to go have some lunch and then we will do NVIDIA earnings. Really do appreciate your time. If you guys enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. But until next time, bye for now. 3:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.